Hey, beautiful mamas. Welcome back to Pearls of Motherhood, the space where we explore the real, the raw, and the healing parts of motherhood, identity, and womanhood. I'm your host, Tessie.
And I'm your host, Diana. And today we're talking about something many of us carry quietly for years: forgiving someone who never apologized.
Maybe you're still waiting for that moment, the text, the phone call, the moment where they finally say, I'm sorry.
And sometimes it never comes.
And it probably never will.
Yeah.
So the question becomes, what do we do with the hurt when the apology never arrives?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let's get into it. So, why does this topic matter for us moms? So, motherhood, obviously, it brings up so much of our own past. I don't know about you, but for me, I I have things coming up in my head that didn't even know existed. So sometimes, especially the pain that we never fully process really pops up. We start seeing patterns and triggers and wounds from childhood, past relationships, or unresolved trauma.
Yeah, and sometimes it happens in the most random moments,
Hmm.
like you're trying to pack snacks, finding a missing shoe, answering a million questions from your kids, and then suddenly you have this like deep emotional realization about something that happened 20 years ago. And
Right?
like that's going to affect how you are mothering that day for sure.
Oh, for sure, 100%. Motherhood is wild, isn't it? You think you're just raising a child, and somehow you also end up doing emotional archaeology on your own life. Like, what in the world?
Oh my gosh, so true. Like motherhood, it has a way of showing us the wounds that we thought that we buried, that we thought that we got over, that we thought didn't actually affect us as deeply as it actually has affected us. And
Hmm.
really, it's true. I feel like motherhood brings out so much in us, at least me, that I never thought. Like there's things that I'm like, oh, that would never bother me, but it does, like it creeps up.
Yeah. For me, it's, I guess, maybe it's just buried deep in the recesses of my brain. But I'm like, I have that memory? What? Where did that come from? And all those feelings, that affects how we show up as moms. And not because we're weak, but because emotional injuries don't disappear just because time has passed.
Yeah. Okay. That reminds me of last episode when we were talking, or not, maybe not last, but a previous episode. We're talking about sweeping the dust under the rug, and it's just like becoming a pile, like a higher and higher pile. And
Hmm.
what good does that do? Okay. So this episode is about healing, but not for them, not for the person. It's healing for you. That's what forgiveness is all about. It has nothing to do with the other person. It's all about like you.
Yeah. But before we talk about forgiveness, we need to clear up one of the biggest misconceptions. And it's that forgiveness does not mean saying that what they did was okay.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to forget. It doesn't mean you have to reconcile with them and become their best friends all of a sudden and uh, open them back up to your life. It doesn't mean like opening the door and letting them back in fully. It it doesn't mean that they were right in that situation. That's not what it means at all.
Yeah. And it definitely doesn't mean you owe them access to you or your heart ever again.
Yeah, 100%. So, and it also like forgiveness is actually also not about reducing the pain that you feel from whatever it was. It is actually more about releasing the grip that it has on your life. Cause like it really is. You know when you get like stuck on something and you're stewing on
Mhm.
it and stewing on it, no matter what it is, whether it could be something not even related to forgiveness, just like anything that's like making you angry or
Yeah.
whatever. It just doesn't, it just like overtakes you. You can't sleep. You can't do anything without thinking about it. I've definitely been there in these moments where it just affects your life and affects how you have your relationships with everybody in your life, and especially most importantly your kids.
Yeah. Uh, I tell my daughter who's, trying to understand feelings, including anger, and she'll go around saying, I'm angry. And I tell her, well, you have every right to be angry. I understand where you're coming from. But just so you know, anger only hurts yourself. It doesn't hurt the other person. They
Mm,
probably have no
true.
idea. And she looks at me like,
Yeah.
"What do you mean?"
It
But
actually, like, also brings up a thought that maybe if you're harboring some sort of unforgiveness and you're waiting for an apology or you're waiting for the other person to have this epiphany, like to come and reconcile with you and make it better so that you can forgive them, like, what if they don't even know that they did
mm,
something to you? So there could be those situations where you're like not forgiving somebody and they're completely clueless and don't even
yeah.
know that they did something. They don't know how it affected you. They don't know that it's hurt you. And that's why open communication is so important in life, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, here you are fixated on this thought, and it doesn't affect the other person at all.
No. I feel like that's like me times like anyone that if I harbor, because there obviously there's people that I have
Yeah,
had to
we
do
all do.
this. Yeah. And
Yeah, we all do.
it really does feel to me like they could care less. They don't even care. Like, it doesn't bother them. So, why am I doing this to
Yeah.
myself? I'm sitting here wondering now.
But that's why we're addressing this, right? Or at least we're trying to.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the unique pain of the non-apology. Okay, let's talk about why this kind of forgiveness is so hard. So, first thing, there's no validation. There's no validation from that other person. They don't acknowledge they hurt the hurt, which makes the pain feel invisible. You're like, "What is hello, I'm angry at you and there's nothing going on."
Mhm.
It's like being angry at a wall, and that is really frustrating.
Mhm. Yeah.
The second is no accountability. They never own their part. Like you're left holding the emotional burden. Again, talking to a wall. That
Mhm.
really stinks. And number three, you don't get closure. You never get that moment that your heart has been waiting for, the repair and the recognition, and it's always open. It's always there. That it's like that door that never closes almost, right?
Mhm.
And number four, it feels unfair because it is. It's unfair that you have to do the emotional work they never did.
Yeah, okay, and, for all of those reasons, that's why we cling to the pain because
Mm.
releasing it can almost feel more like, okay, letting them off the hook. They can just do it, get away with it, treat you however they want. It does come down to, like, somewhat of an ego and maybe even trying to control another person, I don't know,
Oh,
but
yeah.
if you forgiveness is it's not freeing them, it's freeing you.
That's so true, right? So you're not
Yeah.
fixating on it and you get to move on.
I
So
totally feel like I understand, especially if you're out there and you're feeling this like unforgiveness for somebody and they 100% know that you're upset. They 100% know why because there's some instances where they don't. But like when there's those times where they definitely know, I feel like
mhm.
that's like an extra little jab in the heart
Oh,
because that really makes it feel like they don't care, And
yep.
that really makes you almost feel like you want to just get revenge almost by like not forgiving them and not getting over it and holding a grudge. But I mean, really, what's that doing for you?
Really
I've been
really
there.
nothing. Yeah, same. Same. That's why this
Yeah.
episode is so good for us.
I know.
But you know what? You know something motherhood has taught me? It's that the moment you hold your child and you realize how deeply you love them, you start to see your own childhood differently.
Oh,
And
definitely.
right? Because
Yeah.
suddenly I don't know about you, but you think how could someone look at a child and not protect their heart? And that realization can be so painful.
Yes, it like totally. I look at my kids all the time and I'm like, I don't understand how anybody can mistreat one of
Yes.
these little humans. I guess I understand like wrong place, wrong time, like a 2-year-old just does something like wrong place, wrong time,
Yeah.
like you're not in the mood. But just like I look at them and you love them so much and you're like, I can never, ever, ever do that. But the realization that it's like incredibly powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we choose to heal those wounds that we have, then we can become the parent that we actually needed, instead of like doing the cycle and just
Yes.
being the parent, or
Yeah,
whatever the
we're
cycle
we're
might be.
we're reparenting ourselves while we're parenting our kids, right?
Yeah. I've heard that's like such a generational thing of our
It
generation.
100%. And that's like the quiet revolution of motherhood. It's not perfection. It's not having all the answers. It's about deciding that the pain stops with us.
Yeah,
We're going
everything.
to
Yeah.
turn the page.
Yeah. The buck stops here, right?
Yeah,
Like
right? Uh-huh.
we're the final. Yeah, we get to choose. Actually, that's really powerful. We have choice in our life. We're 100%, we're not victims. And we can choose. Okay, are we going to let this affect our lives for the rest of our lives, affect all of our relationships, especially with our kids, which I think are one of the most important ones, obviously? Or are we going to like choose to forgive, let it go, and move on? You get the choice. How powerful is that?
That's huge. That's
Yeah.
huge.
And forgiveness without an apology isn't theoretical for most of us. It's really personal. Okay.
Mm.
So we want to share a little bit of our own experiences with this. Okay. So I had someone in my life who hurt me really deeply. Okay. And for a long time, of course, I kept waiting for an apology that never came, because usually they don't come. Let's be honest with ourselves. And that feeling where a part of you thinks, okay, maybe one day they're finally going to realize, like maybe one day they're going to reach out, and like they totally know. They know that I'm upset about this. They know that it bothers me, and that I've had like issues with it. And maybe they'll say something that actually acknowledges what happened. And so I remember going through this phase where I would replay conversations in my head, thinking about what I would say, imagining how the conversation might go if they finally understood how much it hurt. But of course, that moment never came. And
Mm.
so after a while, you just like get to the point. I realized something that's really hard is I was spending so much energy waiting for closure from someone who wasn't going to give it. And the truth is, waiting like that just was keeping me stuck, because like my peace definitely became tied to somebody else's ability, or actually, let's say, willingness to take responsibility for their own actions. Okay. And let's be real. Let's be honest. Like, how many people can actually really be accountable for their own actions? It's like not very many.
No.
And it's understandable. We're all human. One day it just clicked for me, and the apology that I really deserved, it might never come. And this conversation that I was hoping to have, it might never happen. And if I just kept waiting for it, all I was doing was giving that person more power over my life than they actually deserved. Because I was harboring so much resentment and anger and everything that I did every time I saw them, it really was a painful realization. Okay.
Mm.
So it
So
was also
how did it feel like once you decided, okay, this is going to stop?
like, it was actually pretty incredible. It was like
I
really
bet.
freeing,
Mhm.
because this is what I did, because I'm Catholic. And so what I did was I actually prayed the forgiveness prayer. I heard this podcast on forgiveness because I listened to some Catholic podcasts. I heard this podcast on forgiveness, and he basically was saying a lot of the same things. He's like, it's freeing for you to do this. And so I actually said the forgiveness prayer like 3 times in a row, and you have to like put their name into it. And I did that anyways. And it was like the most incredible. I literally went into that saying, this is not going to work. Okay. This anger and resentment that I have is like so many years that there's no way just saying a prayer is going to help this situation. That's how
Right.
I went into it. But I was like,
Mhm.
okay, well, this guy says it's going to work. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it.
Right,
And
cuz what
I
do you have to
did.
lose?
What
What
do
do
I
you have
have
to
to
lose?
lose? That's
Right.
exactly. And it was the most freeing thing, because I said it like 3 or 4 times in a row, but it really did work. It really did
Wow.
work. It was
Was it like
so
a
it was
weight
so
lifted off of you? Like, I know
it
that's kind of
was.
cliche, but was it like a weight lifted off of you?
Yes, it was. And then it also felt like the forgiveness stopped being about them finally doing the right thing. It became about me deciding that I wanted to like forgive them. And so I didn't want to carry the weight of the hurt anymore. I mean, it
Yeah.
didn't mean that the past suddenly didn't happen, but
Mhm.
I just wasn't living with it anymore day to day. It was kind of
Yeah.
over. It wasn't even necessarily resolved, like the situation wasn't even resolved. And I've actually done this multiple times since. I'm actually not even a person that holds grudges until recently. So I've had to do this for like a few different situations,
So you're really
but
speaking from the heart here and from recent experiences. I get it.
I know. But in the Bible, Jesus actually says to forgive to forgive 77 times. Cuz somebody asks him
Really?
like, "Okay, this person keeps like doing this. Like how many times am I supposed to forgive them?" And he says 77 times. Can you believe that? I'm like,
Oh my
"Okay, well, I'm
gosh.
pretty sure there's not anyone out there who's wronged me 77 times. So I'm just going to keep going here." But yeah, and it was really freeing, because I stopped waiting for somebody else to resolve it. I took the power
Mhm.
and I took the control over it. And so, Diana, I know this is something that you've thought about a lot too, especially
Yeah.
since becoming a mom. So, how did you work through forgiving someone that never apologized to you?
Oh gosh. So for me, there was a long period where I just kept trying to make sense of a situation. And I would think, well, maybe if I explain it better, or maybe if I say it differently, maybe then they'll understand how much it hurt, just reliving it in my brain. And I spent so much time doing that, replaying conversations and hoping that one day there would be like that moment of recognition. But eventually I had to face something really difficult, and that some people just don't have the emotional capacity to see the impact that they had. And
Mhm.
it's not because
Narcissist.
yeah,
Just kidding.
right?
I mean, they're a big one, but not everyone.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go
Well, I mean, there are parts of it that play into that, you could say, right?
ahead.
But it I guess it's not because the hurt wasn't real, but it's because looking at it would require them to like confront parts of themselves that they aren't ready to face. And
Mhm.
accepting that was a major turning point for me, because forgiving them didn't mean that I trusted them again, because I don't. It didn't mean that everything was okay, because it wasn't. It just meant I stopped waiting for them to become someone who they're never going to be. And I stopped waiting for that apology, and something finally shifted. Um, I still see that person all the time, and honestly, I frame my relationship in a way that they are able to show up for me on my terms. So I wouldn't constantly be disappointed, hoping that they would show up for me and help me in a certain way. But instead, I said, "Well, I know that this is what you are capable of and what you're willing to do. So I'm going to frame what I need from you in that." And that's been huge, because now I'm not as disappointed, and I just say, "Okay, well, we're just going to roll with it, and it's on my terms."
Mhm.
That's the big thing for me, is that it's on my terms.
Yeah. That's like the whole taking back the power. You're not
Yeah.
giving them, because that's what's happening is like when you just have this harboring this anger and resentment towards them, waiting for them to come and make it all go away. Like
Mhm.
that's giving away your power. Who wants to be in that situation? Like it's not good.
Yeah, and like, just reliving the past, I was missing out on the present. And when you're raising a kid, you start thinking about like that emotional legacy that you want to pass down. And I remember having the moment where I thought,
Mhm.
well, you know what? This is where the cycle will change, because I can't rewrite what happened to me, but I can decide what is going to continue through me. That's been very intentional. Learning to communicate differently, learning to take responsibility when I'm wrong, learning to apologize when I need to. And those things seem small, but they're really powerful. And
Mhm.
I'm not perfect at it. I forget all the time. I mess up. I have to backtrack. I have to revisit. But every time I choose honesty and repair and accountability with my daughter, it feels like I'm doing like a small piece of that work. And it's not just for healing myself, it's giving my kid something different, a different emotional legacy that may hopefully she can be proud of. And yeah, maybe she'll take it to therapy at some point. But at least I tried.
I feel like what you said about how like living in the past is robbing you of your present is so profound. Like
Oh,
we should definitely say that again because it's true. Because when
yeah.
you're sitting there harboring these anger and feelings from something that has happened to you in the past that you have no control over, it is robbing you from your present and even your future
Yeah.
with your children who are not going to be little forever. So why would you want to waste that time with them? When you
Yeah.
think about it, it's like so profound.
It hit me so hard because she was literally trying to get my attention. I was just fixated on this past memory in my head, and
Yeah.
I felt so guilty. Of course, mom guilt, right?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so like how on earth do we forgive the unrepentant? How do
Okay.
we do it?
Let's take turns in this one, all right? So,
Okay.
okay, number 1, name the hurt clearly. You can't release what you haven't acknowledged, right? So, name what happened, name what it cost you emotionally. It just let out into the universe.
Hmm. Yeah, that's an interest. Yeah. Accept. Okay, number two. Accept the apology may never come. Okay.
Mm.
This part is painful, but it's also freeing because once you accept that possibility, then you stop living in waiting mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like
It's true.
limbo. It's kind
Yeah.
of like living in limbo because you don't know which way is it going to go. Who wants to live like that? That's actually really stressful.
Yeah. Don't you remember Dante's Inferno? He wrote Purgatory too. Not a great place to be.
Don't want to be in purgatory for very long.
No. Nope. Number 3, understand the wounds behind their actions. So this isn't about excusing them, but sometimes understanding their limitations, like maybe their upbringing, their emotional blind spots, it helps you to detach your worth from their behavior.
Yeah, or their mental illness, narcissism.
Yeah.
Number 4, release the fantasy version of the relationship. Oh, that's a really it's
Yeah.
really interesting because yeah, what if you sometimes we're mourning not just the hurt of what happened, but the version of them that we wish that they were and they never can be or never will be. So forgiveness begins when we let go of who they will never be.
That is profound
Yeah.
because I know in my head when I relive those conversations, those bad moments, I want it resolved and I imagine how I want it to be. And it's never going to happen because it's my pretend version of it.
Yeah, I feel like this is huge with somebody who like constantly hurts you or who's hurt you over a number of years or like you're imagining that they're going to be somebody different, but it's kind of like that like what is that like story about the frog and the scorpion or something and the scorpion like stings the frog because it's a scorpion, and you
Mhm.
can't make them somebody that they're not even if you want them to be.
Yeah, the
So,
scorpion's never going to be a cute little bunny.
no. And it's going to sting the frog.
Yep, all the
What
time.
they do. Exactly.
Yep. Number 5, reclaim your power through boundaries. So we talk about boundaries all the time because forgiveness does not mean proximity. Sometimes it
Mhm.
requires distance, whether it's
Mhm.
emotional or physical, so that the cycle of hurt finally stops. Well,
Yeah,
I
you
think
don't.
I think you said it best is that, and on a past episode, Tessie, that boundaries are a roadmap for other people to love you.
Mhm. Yeah, it's how you teach them how to treat you,
Yeah,
kind of, in a
I
way.
love that.
Yeah. Okay, number 6, practice self-compassion during the process, okay? So forgiving someone who never apologized is kind of like a form of grief. It's emotional labor, okay? But be gentle with yourself cuz some days you're going to feel free, some days you're going to feel angry again. And that's normal. It could be normal.
Yeah. So, but basically, it's a process. Like you said, it can come back and it'll go away. And when it comes back, don't see it as a failure. It's just part of it. It's just part of
Yeah.
going through the process, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Number 7, redirect your healing towards you. So forgiveness is a gift you wrap for yourself. It's the moment your heart says, your behavior no longer has access to my peace.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye.
Yeah. That's important.
Yeah.
And if you want to, try saying the forgiveness prayer, because it really worked for me.
Yeah. That's a really good point. I like that.
There's multiple
So,
ways.
and Jesus says it takes 77 times. So, what's
Yeah.
3? So, what does forgiveness actually feel like?
Yeah, forgiveness actually feels like real peace, real, true inner peace, real, like a weight lift off your shoulder, real peace, space in your chest again to breathe, like emotional oxygen kind of returning. And you're no longer stuck in that cycle of like rehearsing old conversations, like being bitter about it or even thinking about them really in your mind. Like it just stops affecting your life.
Yeah. It feels like releasing the emotional contract between you and someone who never earned that power in the first place.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I feel like definitely feels like grief. And then,
Yeah.
so you go through like the grief of whatever the emotions are. And then it's like stillness, like I said, like inner peace, and
Mhm.
then total freedom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Diana, as we were preparing for this episode and thinking about these early days of motherhood, it reminded me of how many messages we get from moms who are right in the middle of that stage, early
Mhm.
motherhood.
Yeah. So those first few months can be so isolating. And sometimes just hearing that someone else experienced the same thing can make a huge difference.
Exactly. And so we actually received a message from a listener that captures that feeling perfectly. So let's do some listener mail.
Okay.
It's a good time.
It is.
All right. This is from Amanda in Denver, Colorado. Hey, Amanda. She says, "Hi, Tessie and Diana. I found your podcast during a 3 a.m. feeding when my son was about 6 weeks old. I remember sitting on the couch in the dark, completely exhausted, wondering if I was doing anything right. Before I had my baby, everyone talked about how magical those first weeks would be. And of course, there were beautiful moments, like the first time he fell asleep on my chest. But what no one really prepares me for was how overwhelmed I would feel. I was constantly tired, second guessing everything, and feeling guilty anytime I needed a break. Even something as simple as taking a shower felt like I was abandoning my baby. That's true.
Yeah.
Listening to your episode about the realities of new motherhood made me realize that what I was feeling was actually normal. I wasn't feeling, I was just learning. My son is 4 months old now, and things still aren't perfect, but they're better. I'm sleeping a little more. I've started taking short walks again, and I'm finally starting to feel like myself. So, thank you for reminding moms like me that we're not alone in this, Amanda."
Wow.
That's so, it's like making me relive the newborn phase. Like I haven't
Mhm.
done that 5 times, but like all over again. I mean, like with my first, because you don't expect all of those things that she talked about. Like you don't expect that when you have your first. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's a such a dramatic life shift.
Yeah.
It First of all, Amanda, first of all, thank you so much for sharing that. I think every mom listening just recognizes that 3 a.m. feeding moment that you described.
Yeah.
There's something about sitting in the quiet of the night, completely exhausted and wondering, "Am I doing this right?" And I did a lot of doom scrolling at 3 a.m. Those 3 a.m. feedings,
I
wondering,
do
"Am
have
I doing it right?"
some profound thoughts at 3 a.m. It's true. Yes, and I really appreciate your honesty about something that we don't talk about enough, that those first weeks can be incredibly overwhelming. Like, even if it's your fifth child, like, they're still overwhelming. It's a lot. It's like very, very overwhelming. So
Mhm.
people tell you about the joy, which is real, that's for sure, but they don't always talk about the exhaustion, the self-doubt, and the emotional weight of suddenly being responsible for this tiny human. And I maybe kind of can understand like why somebody wouldn't want to tell a brand new mom about all of these horrible things, because it's actually funny, okay? Because I go to a chiropractor and she's they haven't had any kids, okay? And but I'm always telling her, I'm just like, first off, I'm telling her how horrible it is, and then I'm like, you should do it.
That makes
And
me think. I digress for just a second. That reminds me of what your husband told me before my husband and I had kids. He goes, "Don't do it. Don't do it."
oh my gosh, we used to say that all the time to people before they we're like, don't do it. It's like so hard because nobody told us. So we feel like it's our responsibility to be honest with people. But then my she's kind of my friend and she sees my baby, but she's like, I tell her all the time, I'm like, it's so hard. I don't sleep. I'm miserable, all this stuff, you know? And then I'm like, but you really need to have one because it's like the greatest joy on the planet.
Are you sure?
And she says that she's like, all the moms, because she sees babies, she's like, all the moms say the same thing. They like come in and tell me how hard it is. And then they're like, you should have one. She's like, I don't know if I want one. Like, why?
You and
So
your
I get
husband literally told me. I remember. Well, your husband said, "Don't do it,"
that.
but I'm glad I didn't listen. Although that 3 a.m. early feeding, there were a few
Oh.
times, and I was like, "Did I do the right thing? Is this? Am I okay?"
Oh my gosh, I know. I feel you.
And I love what you said about realizing that you weren't failing and that you were learning because that's what early motherhood really is. It's a
Mhm.
learning curve for everything. There's
Yeah.
feeding, there's sleeping, there's soothing, there's taking care of yourself, all while being sleep deprived. I mean,
Mhm.
when you go into special forces, when you go into medicine, when you go into those things where you are supposed to do night shifts, you're trained. When you're
Yeah.
supposed to be sleep deprived, you are trained. No one trains you for motherhood and those wee morning
No.
hours.
Oh my gosh,
So
it's
this
so exhausting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the curve is so steep because it's for literally everything.
Yeah, because you're like figuring it all out in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. Like, oh my gosh, there's a poop blowout. What do I do? It's dark. I don't want to wake up my husband. Like, it's all over the place, you know, just like all of those things that you've never done before. I remember my first poop blowout was at the zoo. We went to Zoo Lights and he was like 6 weeks old. And like, me and my husband were both like, oh, what do we do? We're like trying to, it's like taking two of us to change like a poopy diaper, which now I can do in a car seat, like a pro
Yeah,
in two
like it's a
seconds.
I remember it was in the middle of the night, of course, again, like 3 AM, because it's always that witching hour, and she pooped and threw up at the same time. And I'm like, "What do you do? Like,
What do
what
I
end
do?
do
What do
you
I
control? I don't know."
Yes, and so Amanda, the fact that you're already noticing those small improvements, like sleeping a little more, taking walks, feeling a bit like yourself again, that's exactly what we mean when we say progress in motherhood often happens in small steps over time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hearing Amanda's story about carrying heavy feelings really ties into what we're exploring today. You know, those moments when someone has hurt us, but they've never said sorry.
You know, exactly. Okay. And okay, this actually makes me think. So I feel like you and I don't know if our kids have ever really done anything that we can never forgive, like we like harbor unforgiveness for, not our kids. But I feel like that's a possibility with adult children. There's
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, but I can just imagine like I could see adult children doing things that I don't know. I don't know if that's like a thing because I don't have adult children, but you know, like as hard as it is, with other people, is it going to be hard with our own kids too once they're adults? I don't know. I feel like that's like a whole nother level
I
up. But anyways,
I think that's a whole episode that we can explore with guests. Because you and
yeah,
I, we don't our kids are still young. So, if she spills the milk, yes, I'll forgive you because it's just spilled milk. But when you're an
yeah,
adult, things get heavier and those topics can get sticky. What do you do then, right?
yeah. And so, anyways, like
Mm.
it's one thing to forgive when somebody apologizes. That's like so easy, right? But what do we do when there isn't an apology? How do we release that weight and still find peace? That's what we got to
Yeah.
figure out.
And that's what today's pearls are all about. They're practical, gentle ways to forgive without needing the other person to make it right. So let's
Yeah.
jump into the pearls.
All right, pearl number 1. Forgiveness without an apology is not weakness. It's actually emotional courage.
Yeah. Pearl number 2, the apology you deserved may never come, but healing is still possible.
Pearl number 3. Forgiveness doesn't restore the relationship. It restores your peace.
Pearl number 4, boundaries are not the opposite of forgiveness, they protect it.
Pearl number 5. When we heal old wounds, we can actually change what our children inherit from us.
And our final pearl, releasing someone else's harm doesn't erase your story, it gives the pen back to you.
Yep. Yep. And that's what you want is the power.
That's right. Some apologies are never going to come.
But peace can still find its way back to you.
So, if today's episode touched your heart, share it with a mama who may be holding on to pain she's been carrying all alone.
Yes. Follow us on Instagram, on Threads. What is our handle on Threads?
Also, the same as the one on Instagram
Oh, really?
at
Okay,
Palmcast. Yep.
at Pomcast,
Mhm.
Pomcasts. We're on Facebook at Pearls of Motherhood. And follow us, like us, get engaged into the conversation, share some things, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Episodes are released weekly. So, yeah.
We love you, mama. You're worthy of peace, whether they ever apologize or not. Talk to you
Yep.
soon. Bye.